Hello guys, welcome back to LR Anime. Guys, please like the video and subscribe to my channel. Today is explanation of BTTH Rebirth of Emperor Yang episode number 174 based on novel. So let's start. Fighting spirit on the mainland, above Zhongzhou. Countless people raised their heads at this moment and looked at the four figures in the sky. Everyone's eyes were full of shock. In the air, Xiao Yuan and Zhu Kuan also frowned, looked at each other, and felt dignified in their hearts. They also did not expect that the other party's purpose was to lay down the ancient imperial jade into ore, and this opening was threatened by sex. It can be seen that they attach great importance to the imperial jade, but the fact is that they are unable to take out the ancient imperial jade into ore. If the emperor jade is still there, the key is that Tuoshegu emperor jade has been collected by Xiao Yang and has become an insignificant ornament in his ring. With the departure of Yang Emperor, the Emperor Jade will naturally be taken away by Xiao Yang. Now, don't say they don't want to give it, even if they are willing, they can't take it out now. After just a few dozen breaths, the faces of the two figures under the black fog had become gloomy. The dark clouds covering the whole Zhongzhou continent suddenly rolled up at the moment, invisible, indicating to them the mood of the two people at the moment. Whoosh, whoosh. Then, several streamers quickly flew out of the cities below, and finally stood next to Xiao Yuan. These people were all members of the original Tianfu alliance. The elder of Dantar, the ancestor of Burning Valley, and even the chief demon Ming of the 9 Yudi Mingmang family are all here. In this short period of more than 10 years, most of the fighting saints in the mainland have gathered in the sky, especially dozens of fighting saints from the Xiao nationality, all of whom are high-level fighting saints. This lineup can be called the strongest alliance in history. Who are these two guys? Are they descendants of the Soul clan? Standing on the side of the ancient Yuan dynasty, Xiao Chen frowned. Inspired by the blood of Do Di, over the years, Xiao Chen's strength has also made rapid progress. Comparing his strength alone, he will not be inferior to the ancient Yuan dynasty. Looking at the whole Do Qi continent, it is only the Dragon Emperor of the Dragon family who can make him fear. I don't know, but judging from their appearance of being neither human nor ghost, 9 times out of 10 they can't be wrong. But how could they suddenly become so strong? Even if luck escaped from the soul world, there is no reason for them to become so strong in just more than 20 years. Alas! It's useless to say anything now. The important thing is not why they are so strong, but that we are not the opponent of these two guys at all. Xiao Yuan swept the crowd behind him with the remaining light from the corner of his eye. When he caught a glimpse of Zana, his eyes could not help but coagulate slightly. Now in this situation, even he has no assurance that he can deal with the two people. How can Zana be here? It doesn't matter how they old guys are. But if something happens to Zana, whether he is a father or Xiao Yang, he can't explain. Zana, you girl, how do you? Jia. This is Xiao Zana, Xiao Yuan, Zhu Kuan, Jia. These are the strongest fighters in the mainland. However, just at this time, a burst of harsh and strange laughter suddenly appeared in the two ghostly black fog. However, when the laughter just fell, the other person immediately said with a yin laugh. But it's a pity. Mole ants are mole ants after all. Hand over the Tuosha ancient imperial jade quickly, otherwise, the Buddha will make the whole fighting continent blood-stained into a river. Don't be ashamed. The remaining evils of the Soul clan. When the Soul Emperor was still alive, your Soul clan was wiped out. Now, with your 2 remaining evils, you also want to kill the mainland. It's really... Bang! Just after the words in the black fog fell, a 5-star dual saint stepped forward with disdain on his face in the crowd over the sky. The terrible momentum filled the positive sky. I thought there were Xiao Yuan and others present. I thought they couldn't do anything, but they didn't think about it. Before the words in his mouth fell, his body and even his soul, it turned into a blood mist in an unprovoked explosion. The sudden occurrence of this scene, even Xiao Yuan and others, did not find it in time. When they came back to their senses, the 5-star dual saint, who had a high position in the Zhongzhou mainland and was called the Top, had turned into a blood mist and dispersed with the wind. Just mole ants, dare to speak recklessly, really want to die. What about you? Can you think it over? Hand over the Buddha's ancient imperial jade. I may spare your cheap life, otherwise, the end will be the same as him. In the black fog, disdainful words came out again. The faces of a crowd in the opposite sky could not help changing and changing. The strength of the two people in front of them was really powerful and terrible. If they didn't cooperate with them, I'm afraid the fighting mainland would really face a catastrophe today. What should we do now? The Emperor Jade is not in our hands at all. We can't take it out if we want to, Father Dantar said with a heavy face. There's no way. Tell them the facts first, otherwise, the outcome can't be changed. Xiao Yuan reluctantly shook his head. At present, this is the case. If they don't cooperate with these two guys, because a Tuorsha ancient imperial jade that doesn't exist in the Duki continent will bury the whole continent in a sea of blood, which is not what they would like to see. After some meditation, they all agreed with the idea of Xiao Yuan. However, when Xiao Yuan told them the real whereabouts of the Emperor Jade, they fell into a deep thought in the two black fog. It's expected that Tuor Shigu's imperial jade is on Xiao Yang. As long as those guys in the western regions can catch Xiao Yang, the imperial jade will be ours. But if you come back empty-handed and what the Lord promised us, can you count? They secretly calculated that the ultimate goal was their own good. Even if you can't bring back the imperial jade, if you can take Xiao Yang's woman back and threaten him to hand over the imperial jade, it's also a way. When they thought of doing it, two invisible forces surged out at the moment of regaining consciousness, and they immediately controlled Zana in the opposite crowd. The huge power is like an invisible big hand, holding Zana's delicate body tightly. No matter how he struggles, it is in vain. Zana. At this moment, Xiao Yuan in the crowd was also suddenly surprised. However, before he could make a move, Zana's delicate body had been immediately pulled before the two black fog. However, at this time, 3 different positions on the Duki continent rushed up a huge energy light column to the sky at the same time, which was like a pillar supporting the sky. The whole Duki continent shook at this moment. Deep in the Shelene mountains, the 4 eagles stand impressively. With the original strength of the 4 people, after absorbing the magic core of the 5-star fighting emperor level, the strength of the 4 people is also the advanced fighting emperor. Now, the strongest of the 4 people is Tianying, who is the boss. With good luck, the cultivation of the latter happens to break through the early stage of the 2-star fighting emperor. After years of cultivation, Tianying's strength, it has been completely stable. With the help of the magic core, the Yang Lion and Xiong Gang have reached the late stage of the 1-star Dipper Emperor. Even, by contrast, Xiong Gang is slightly better than the Yang Lion and is close to the peak of the late stage of the 1-star Dipper Emperor. As for Abao, his strength is only the middle stage of the 1-star Dipper Emperor. Although his cultivation is still the lowest among the 4 people, his heart is clear that if it is not for Xiao Yang and the 3 people in front of him, even if he is given another 10 years and decades, he will still be the 9-star and half emperor. Therefore, up to now, Abao's heart is completely grateful to the 3 people in front of him. Of course, the most grateful person is Xiao Yang. After several years of getting along, the relationship between the 4 people is also close quickly. At the beginning, the sense of distance between the 3 people to Abao has been completely erased. The long river of time can always smooth all the edges and corners in the world. The original estrangement between the 3 brothers towards Abao has gradually disappeared in the past few years. It is like 4 angular stones sinking at the bottom of the river. After a long time of grinding and collision, the edges and corners between them are smoothed and finally become smooth. Deep in the Shelene mountains, the 4 people stood side by side at the top of a mountain peak and looked south. There were bursts of thunder from time to time, which made people tremble. But at one moment, the Skyhawk, the first of the 4, suddenly frowned. Then, the original dull look on his face gradually became dignified. At the same time, the other 3 people around them also found something. They looked at each other, and then slowly turned around and looked north. In their perception, at this moment, there is a great force that is not weak and is moving rapidly towards them. Come with evil intent. But from that breath, it can be judged that these people are human beings, and with their current strength, they also clearly realize that there are as many as 8 in that team. Such a team, without the group of people behind them, is enough to sweep the whole Shelene Mountains. Of course, it is also without cold and frost. After all, the latter's terrible strength, the so-called fighting emperor strong, in her eyes, is no different from the ordinary half-emperor. Those who come are not good. Be careful. Tianying gave a heavy order. The 3 people around him also solemnly nodded. Such a large group of people entered the Shelene Mountains. They didn't think each other was coming to play. After a short moment, a large number of people appeared in the sight of Tianying 4 people, just like a dark cloud. The closer they were, the more they could feel an invisible pressure, like a giant beast, rushing towards them. Invisible, even the air breathing between heaven and earth became much heavier. After a while, this group of people appeared in front of Tianying 4 people. The 2 sides looked at each other from a distance, and the atmosphere was quite depressed. 4. You should be the owner of the Shelene Mountains. Among the 4 groups, a middle-aged man dressed in black robes and embroidered with a Hu family badge on his chest, hugged the 4 Tianying people standing on the cliff opposite, glanced at them one by one and asked with a smile. The 4 strong fighting emperors are the same as the information they got a few years ago. Smelling the speech, the eyes of Tianying 4 people also swept one by one from the people who were obviously divided into 4 groups opposite. Especially when their eyes noticed those who were the first, the look on their faces could not help but become more dignified. Among these people, the strength of the leader, in addition to the team dressed in white robes, there is a strong man at the level of 4-star duty in every other team. Even among them, there are 2 4-star duty in the team led by a young man in white robe, and the young man is one of them. At a certain moment, when our Bao's eyes swept over the group of leaders in white robes, the look in his eyes could not help but coagulate slightly. Tianying didn't know them, but it didn't mean he didn't know them. After all, he left the other party's sphere of influence. The leader of the white-robed team is the owner of the White family, Bai Ying. I wonder if you have brought so many people to Shelene Mountain Range. What can I do for you? In the face of these people, Tianying doesn't dare to have the slightest carelessness. The 8 strong fighting emperors can't cope with such a lineup. If they can't do it, it's naturally best. Hehe, don't get me wrong. We're not here to fight with you, but to find someone here, a human. At the end of the sentence, the Hu family who just spoke also stressed that the person they were looking for was a human. Heh. As soon as they said this, Tianying 4 people immediately picked their eyebrows. The 4 people quickly met their eyes and felt dignified in their hearts. They all know that Xiao Yang has many enemies in the outside world, and from the meaning of this man's words at the moment, the goal of this group of people is obviously Xiao Yang. Sorry, we don't have the person you're looking for here. Shelene Mountain Range doesn't welcome any human beings. If you're okay, please come back first. I'm sorry to send it not far away. His eyes turned. Tianying stared at the man of the Hu family opposite and said in a calm voice. Smell speech. The strong man of the Hu family fighting the emperor frowned. The mood changes on the faces of the 4 Tianying people just now, but they know the bottom of their eyes. Now they actually say that Xiao Yang is not here. How can they believe it? 4. We know that in order to hide here, Noddy robbed Dan in exchange with you. In this way, we can also give you what you need, such as Spirit Stone and even high-level fighting skills. As long as you tell me, where is Xiao Yang hiding now? Suddenly, Zhuolin, dressed in a white robe, stepped forward and stared at the 4 people opposite with a smile. At the same time, with a wave of his palm, there were a lot of spirit stones and martial arts floating in the air. It seemed that he was waving to the 4 eagles. Tianying 4 turned a blind eye to this. They can break through the fight against the emperor, but they all take the credit of Xiao Yang. Now with this interest, it's like buying them off. It's inevitable to take them too lightly. As I said, the person you are looking for is not here. Shelene Mountain Range is not a place where you can go wild at will. This time, the tone of Tianying's speech became a lot gloomy. As soon as he read it, all the warcraft in the whole mountain were summoned and rushed to their current position. In a twinkling of an eye, a huge encirclement circle was formed, surrounding the people of the 4 families. Relying on this momentum alone, it suppressed the people of the 4 families. You don't have to drink a toast. Since you don't want to say it, don't blame us. The emperor fighting strongman of the Hu family spoke again. At the same time, an extremely powerful momentum was swept out of his body and turned into an invisible storm. It quickly shrouded between the heaven and earth. Just for a moment, the momentum gathered by countless warcraft was suppressed by him alone. A group of mole ants dared to be presumptuous in front of the emperor. A cold hum of disdain fell, and then the Hu family's strong man wanted to fight. However, at the next moment, there was a sudden sound of thunder in the deep sky in the south. The fighting spirit in the middle-aged human body stopped at this moment. His eyes were slightly frozen, his eyes looked up and looked at the southern sky. Angry continent. Boom. The sudden rise of the light column made the whole angry continent shake violently at this moment. In every corner of the continent, all life is looking at the 3 columns of light that soar into the sky. No matter where they are, as long as they are still fighting on the continent, they will be able to see the 3 columns of light and the 3 columns of light that disappear into the sky. What's going on? Zhongzhou, including the 2 shadows, everyone was shocked. The sudden change caught them a little unprepared, especially the 2 shadows, whose bodies wrapped under the black fog, could not help shaking slightly. This is not because of the particularity of the 3 light pillars, but at the moment when the light pillar rises, they obviously feel that the world is more and more powerful against them, which shows that there is not much time left for them. Damn it, what happened? How did the power between heaven and earth suddenly increase so much? In the black fog, there was an angry scolding. They never thought that the bondage of this world to them would become more and more heavy. If they don't leave here as soon as possible, I'm afraid they will face a lot of trouble. When they thought of doing it, they moved and wanted to step into the space channel behind them. However, at this time, 3 extremely powerful momentum came to Zhongzhou. If you want to go, you can leave, people. The cold cry came out. Listening to the voice, the other party was obviously a woman. Almost at the same time, not far in front of the 2 groups of black fog, a beautiful woman with a beautiful figure, dressed in a tight red skirt, slowly showed her figure from the space and just blocked the passage into the space. Look at its appearance, nature is color scale, no doubt. Yes. They were surprised and looked again. In the eyes in the black fog, they couldn't help showing a surprised color. Half emperor. On this deserted continent, there will be the birth of a semi-emperor. Xiao Yang can have it before, and he can have it after. Even if there is, what can it be? It's just a half emperor. It's just that it can protect itself in Yuanwu mainland. Moreover, she alone. What? In the black fog, the words of you and me have not yet fallen. Next to the flirtatious woman, the space is distorted again. Then, the 2 women whose body and appearance are not inferior to the former appear. The 2 men, on the left, dressed in purple and gold tight skirts, outlined their perfect posture. On a beautiful cheek, they were wearing a cold and indifferent color. A pair of purple eyes stared at the 2 dark shadows opposite. In the depths of their eyes, murderous intentions emerged. This woman is the current dragon emperor of the dragon family, Xian. As for the one on the right, on his seemingly thin body, he was wearing a plain dress with bright eyes and teeth, a pretty nose, and a black lotus blooming like a living creature between his eyebrows. This woman is the little doctor. However, compared with the original, today's 3 women are very different. The strength of the 3 women have both broken through the shackles of the 9-star dual saint, successfully stepped into the rank of half-emperor and looked at the whole fighting spirit continent. They are all extremely strong, but today, what they didn't expect is that this kind of thing will happen on the mainland while they break through. Although I don't know who the other party is, it's enough to make them face each other with swords because they caught Zana. Who are you? Put her down and I'll let you go. Or die. When the 3 women's pretty face is cold and their tone is indifferent, every sentence contains endless cold meaning. Facing the 3 women in front of them, the 2 in the black fog couldn't help frowning. It's okay to face only one semi-imperial strongman, but the key is that now there are 3 of them. In addition, the world is more and more imposing on them. It's not good for them to stay any longer. Rush, the 3 of them just broke through the half-emperor, and their breath is not stable. With our fighting skills, we will be able to break through as long as we do our best. If we report this matter to the top at that time, we may get more benefit. In the dark fog, they whispered to themselves, but in the twinkling of an eye, they already had the answer in their hearts. Yeah. Yes, plus. With her in hand, these three women throw rodent repellents. See if they dare to kill. A pair of eyes in the black fog glanced and was controlled. Zana, who had been in a coma, had a cruel radiance on his mouth. He seemed to want to see what the other party wanted to do but dared not. The next moment, the two men controlled Zana, moved and rushed away facing the three women of color scale. Looking at this appearance, they seemed to need to fight with them. However, the next collision made the three women of color scales eat and shrivel constantly. In the face of the two men's frontal attack, Kaylin three people who should have the upper hand, but because of Zana's relationship, they have to be careful and keep their hands for 3 points every time, so that the two sides touch each other for nearly 100 rounds, and Kaylin three people don't take half the advantage, which makes the three women angry, but they are particularly helpless. After several encounters, the three women also found that although the strength of the other party was not much different from that of them, the fighting skills displayed by the two men were obviously stronger than their heaven-level fighting skills. These two people don't seem to be fighting against the mainland. Suddenly, the three women's heart raised such an idea. The emergence of these two people was extremely sudden. No one knew their origin or their own strength, and the whole fighting continent. They seemed to fall from the sky. Therefore, no matter what, the three of them will not let the two people in front of them take Zana away. However, after 100 rounds, the two people took the opportunity to gradually approach the space channel. When they concentrate again, the two dark shadows have controlled Zana and come to the space channel. Jia. Sure enough, there is still love and righteousness, but unfortunately, what's the use, Jia. With a sharp smile, two groups of black fog quickly got into the space channel, and at the same time, they also kidnapped Zana. Later, the three of Kaylin's pretty faces and cold intentions caught up, but in the end, they could only see the closure of the space channel. Deep in the Shelene Mountains, at this moment, it is surrounded by two forces. One side is human, which is divided into 4 strands. They all stand in the void and look at each other from a distance with the 4 people on the opposite mountain. The other is the 4 people opposite this group at the moment, as well as the countless warcraft surrounding them, which surround the middle group of humans in the center. The terrible momentum is filled between the heaven and earth. The atmosphere in the air is very dignified. It seems that there will be a big fight if there is a disagreement. But at this time, in front of the head of the human side, several team leaders all looked over the 4 people opposite and looked at the more distant southern sky. The sky at the end of the line of sight was as white as rice paper. It didn't seem to be different, but it was strange. Just now, the leaders of the 4 families clearly heard a burst of thunder from there. Moreover, it was not just them who heard the sound, but also the family children behind them. That thunder is. Someone is refining pills. In the crowd, some people could not help but speak out in a puzzled tone. As soon as these words came out, the 4 groups of people immediately became agitated. They naturally felt deeply about this action. The reason why they would mobilize so many strong people in the family is that their ultimate goal is to serve one person. Xiao Yang. As far as they know, the latter is not only a herbalist, but also a third-order herbalist with high grade. If the thunder just now was caused by Dan Yarrow, then the thunder must be Dan Lei. Is it Dan Lei? Is that guy refining pills? Gaga. Isn't this a great opportunity? Now when Dan Lei comes out, Xiao Yang will be restrained by Dan Lei. As long as we attack with the trend, we can easily take him down. Isn't it beautiful? No. I'm afraid it's not Dan Lei. Zhuolin smiled, and the palm he had just raised fell down. At the same time, those floating skill scrolls on the void were also included in the ring. A cold killing intention flashed across his eyes, saying, "If I guess right, this thunder is more terrible than ordinary Dan Lei. Imperial robbery." As soon as Zhuolin said this, the faces of the other 3 team leaders changed together. Everyone's face was full of shock at this moment, and he felt incredible, even unbelievable. Imperial robbery. How is this possible? Yes, it's only 5 years. How could he invite the Emperor? The leaders of the four families clearly know that although Xiao Yang's strength was terrible 5 years ago, he was only a half-emperor, a 6-star and half-emperor. However, only 5 years have passed. How can the latter's strength advance so rapidly and have reached the level of fighting emperor in the twinkling of an eye? Emperor robbery, which is the symbol of fighting the emperor and the strong, is the proof that 1.5 feet have stepped into the ranks of the real strong. However, how can Xiao Yang attract emperor robbery? I don't care whether this is true or false. I just want you to understand that he has no skills now. Now is the best time to deal with him. The smile on Zhuolin's face gradually became ferocious. Now, he wants to return all the pain brought by Xiao Yang. The more powerful Xiao Yang is, the more he wants to step on Xiao Yang. As long as Xiao Yang can become his stepping stone, no one in the western regions can compete with him for the position of overlord in the future. Hey, Zhuolin's family, what you said is easy. Even if it's the best time to deal with Xiao Yang, can't you see that these little rabbits are not so easy to deal with once they fight for their lives? The speaker of the Hua family just smiled coldly, glanced at the warcraft around one by one, and sneered. So, you stay and hold them. I'll catch Xiao Yang back. With a faint word, Zhuolin wanted to start, but the 4-star strong man of the Hua family also moved and came to Zhuolin. Zhuolin's family doesn't want to leave the 3 of us so that they can swallow the baby in Xiao Yang's hands alone. Zhuolin's face sank, his eyes stared at the middle-aged man in front of him, and said in a deep voice. What do you want? Either you and I go together, or we'll work together to solve these animals first. It's fair to everyone. Once you say that. The people of the Bai family and the Sun family also looked over and looked at their appearance. It seemed that they were dissatisfied. Although the relationship between the 4 families is not friendly, at present, major events are ahead, but we can only cooperate together. Even if we want to tear our face, we have to catch Xiao Yang first. In desperation, Zhuolin had to nod his head with hatred and said in a deep voice. It's up to you to solve these animals first. After that, Zhuolin's eyes suddenly turned and fell on the 4 Tianying people opposite. His heart moved, and the magnificent fighting spirit in his body surged rapidly at this moment. It's just a few 1-star dipper emperors. The only one with the strongest strength is Tianying, who was in the early stage of the 2-star dipper emperor. He doesn't see such a lineup at all. If this guy on the side didn't deliberately drag him down, he would have gone to find Xiao Yang now and might have subdued him. Do it. Kill me, and leave none. The tone was cold and cheered. Suddenly, the people of the Zhua family behind them surged up and burst out with streamers. Then they collided with countless warcraft animals around them. At the beginning of the war, the other 3 families, also under the command of the team leader, set out to rush towards the warcraft and kill the past. As for several fighting emperors in the team, they looked at the 4 eagles. It's your turn. In the void, Zhuolin's eyes turned and he stared at the opposite Tianying and others. His mind moved. In the void around him, the huge fighting spirit quickly condensed, and in the twinkling of an eye, it condensed into 4 sharp swords. The sword edge reflecting the cold light pointed directly at the 4 Tianying people opposite. At the moment of feeling the cold light, a deep and dignified color also appeared on their faces. At the beginning of the war, now they just want to avoid it, but they can't avoid it. Poof! With a wave of the eagle's big sleeve and a puff, his strong blue fighting spirit gushed out of his palm. He has never touched anyone since he reached the stage of fighting the emperor. Today, he can do it well. Anyway, it will be World War I sooner or later. Don't hesitate. Go ahead and live up to our strength. Drink. The Sky Eagle looked up and laughed. No matter what happened today, they would never let the people in front of them disturb Xiao Yang. As the words in the mouth of the eagle fell, the other 3 people around them also shook their bodies. Vigorous fighting spirit spewed out of their bodies and turned into 3 fighting light pillars, which rushed straight into the sky, with a momentum like a rainbow. Then, 4 pairs of eyes fell on Zhuolin, with cold light in the depths of their eyes. At the top of the snow peak, Xiao Yang stood proudly on it, looked up at the thunder clouds that were about to disperse in the clouds, and a smile appeared on his face. Although the imperial robbery did not pose any threat to Xiao Yang today, with the help of the force of thunder, Xiao Yang's physical strength was able to grow. As early as before, in the face of the imperial robbery, Xiao Yang no longer operated the fighting spirit in his body, but only relied on his physical strength. Hundreds of collisions made Xiao Yang's body constantly stimulated under the thunder. The slightest force of thunder kept moving in the body, bringing bursts of stinging pain. However, with Xiao Yang's mind, this pain was nothing, but made Xiao Yang smile. Over time, when the thunder poured into Xiao Yang's body again, it was no longer pain, but bursts of numbness. Gradually, the whole body was immersed in this comfortable feeling, just like soaking in a hot spring. The body relaxed and let the thunder flow, but Xiao Yang himself finally benefited. Under the tempering of those thunders, Xiao Yang's physical strength soared at an extremely frightening speed. The black thunder jumped up in Xiao Yang's body like a small snake. The release of the force of thunder stimulated every cell in Xiao Yang's whole body. After countless times of quenching, each cell contains a trace of thunder power. Xiao Yang only feels that the whole body is full of power. Each cell is bulging and full. Both mental state and physical body have been greatly increased. At this moment, Xiao Yang can clearly feel that the thunder has no effect on his body. At present, the imperial robbery is about to disappear. Xiao Yang looks up at the thunder cloud that has shrunk several times, but he has a strange idea in his heart. I don't know if I can improve my physical strength if I rush into that thunder cloud. This kind of idea, but ordinary people will never dare to dream. After all, this is an imperial robbery, but all the strong people who break through the fight against the emperor can stay away from it. Who cannot retreat but advance like Xiao Yang is a wonderful flower. Thinking of doing it, Xiao Yang's character makes it happen. With Tianjue step, Xiao Yang's body has come under the thunder cloud in a twinkling of an eye. Boom! Suddenly, the thunder clouds rolled and seemed to be frightened. In countless bombardments, the imperial robbery seemed to know the horror of Xiao Yang. In the face of Xiao Yang, even the imperial robbery seemed to be afraid. Ha ha! Seeing this, Xiao Yang smiled and immediately stopped hesitating. With a slight shock, he suddenly rushed into the thunder cloud. Entering the thunder cloud, the world in front of Xiao Yang suddenly became dark. Looking at it, from time to time, there was a black thunder like a small snake passing by him. Seeing it, Xiao Yang not only didn't feel nervous, but was quite happy in his heart. Compared with the thunder that fell before, the thunder in the thunder cloud is undoubtedly more and stronger. If you can swallow all these thunder, you don't know your strength, can you go further? With such an idea in his heart, Xiao Yang no longer hesitated. He sat in the thunder with his legs crossed. When his heart moved, the burning determination skill in his body worked. Suddenly, a violent suction came out from Xiao Yang's body, and the thunder in the thunder cloud immediately gathered uncontrollably at Xiao Yang. The terrible attraction condensed a huge whirlpool around Xiao Yang's body. The nearby thunder would be sucked into the whirlpool uncontrollably, and then disappeared into Xiao Yang's meridians. After a circle with the burning skill, it was refined by different fire. Finally, the violent energy in the thunder was completely refined into a pure energy, then merge into cyclone space. The power of thunder is the most destructive power between heaven and earth except for different fires. The energy it contains is naturally extremely huge. Each ray of thunder seems small, but the energy it condenses is extremely solid. What Xiao Yang is doing now is to refine and dissipate all the violent forces in these thunders, and the remaining pure energy, that's what Xiao Yang needs. Under Xiao Yang's crazy absorption and refining, the emperor's disaster, which was already close to collapse, shrank rapidly. However, for a moment, the lacquer black thunder cloud with the size of only tens of feet was also absorbed by Xiao Yang. Xiao Yang's body was exposed to the air again. About an hour later, Xiao Yang's closed eyes slowly opened. At the same time, a touch of fine awe passed through the depths of his eyes, like thunder and a flame, which was difficult to figure out. Who? Xiao Yang breathed out a long breath. As soon as he relaxed his body, he immediately shook his palm and felt the fullness of energy in his body. A happy smile appeared at the corners of his mouth. Just now, with the help of the last ray of thunder, Xiao Yang successfully raised the strength of the later stage of the four-star fighting emperor again. That is to say, today's Xiao Yang's strength is not only the later stage of the four-star fighting emperor, but also reached the peak of the later stage. It's only a step away from the 5-star fighting emperor. However, at this time, a burst of explosive sound of fighting and collision was vaguely introduced into Xiao Yang's ear. Slightly frown, Xiao Yang believes that he has heard correctly. It is true that there was a battle, but this is the deep part of Shelene mountain range. It is almost impossible to fight here. But listening to this voice, the scale of the battle seems not small, which makes Xiao Yang feel a little uneasy. Are they eagles? Xiao Yang thought of the 4 eagles at the first time. He didn't dare to hesitate immediately. His heart moved. Even if the soul beads in the center of his eyebrows trembled violently, a huge soul force poured out quickly. However, after a few breaths, the scene of the 4 eagles at the moment was fully invested in Xiao Yang's eyes. These are 4 families. His heart was slightly stunned. Then, a cold killing intention quickly rose from Xiao Yang's heart. The fighting spirit in the cyclone in his body also churned violently involuntarily. Whoosh! Then the next moment, Xiao Yang's body trembled slightly when he stood up, and then he didn't move until after a few breaths. A wisp of breeze blew, but Xiao Yang's body gradually faded and dissipated. At the same time, in the depths of Shelene mountain range, the 4 Tianying people at the moment are also losing in the hands of Zhuolin. This video will end here.